Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. This is really fun. All right, approval of order of agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move number 10 up ahead of number 6.
Ahead of number 6. There a motion or a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right, approval of consent agenda, bills, employee status change, overtime and July financial report. Entertain a motion for that.
I make the motion.
All right,
I'll second.
the first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. All right, so we are moving with Wally Township section line then for our first person up. Do we have, oh, they are. You can see you behind the podium there. Sorry about that.
I'm Steven Sagerton of Wally Township. I guess a couple of property owners in Wally Township in the Chief Adams Forest subdivision. We petitioned to vacate the roadway easement and close the section line. And it's only about, whatever it is, like 750 feet. It's just in between two lots.
Madam Chair, I spoke with Mr. Magnuson. This is not a county planning and zoning. It's Walleye Township has their own zoning authority. So I think really they just had to bring a petition to the commission with, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Oh, it's,
Just a question for
Yes.
Mr. Stavateg. I know we visited earlier, so
Yes.
thank you. The Century Code requires that anyone that didn't sign the petition that land is adjoining this area be served with a copy.
Okay.
Is there anyone that wasn't a signature?
This is Sanford Case.
My name is Sanford Case. I'm one of the homeowners. The lot adjacent to the south is owned by Cam Tweeten, and he did sign our initial petition, but the state's attorney requested some revisions to it. He was out of town when we did the second one, but I do have the copy of the petition that he signed.
So just in order to follow Century Code, I think Mr. Tweeten, since he didn't sign the petition that was brought before the board, he'd need to be personally served before the board can act on the petition.
So we need to table it until Mr. Tweet. We need to table it until Mr. Tweet can sign the petition
Correct.
and they need to come back before the board. We can put you on the next agenda.
Okay.
Well, what's the next date?
Could we approve it contingent upon him turning the signature into you, Ms. Wamstead? Or do we have to wait? Otherwise, they gotta all come back.
I think it would have to come back before
Okay.
the board, because he'd have an opportunity to be heard should he object. It doesn't sound like that's an issue, but just to ensure compliance with the Century Code.
So the September 2nd.
Thank you.
Sorry, the September 2nd agenda item, we can put you on the first one. Sorry to make you go through this again, but.
Put you at the top.
Yeah.
Process.
Okay, sounds good. I guess we'll table that until our next commission meeting. Thank you so much. Okay. So we'll move up, I guess, to citizen comments. And so Mr. Leek.
Hello, I'm Todd Leak. I live 2371 10th Avenue Northeast. I'm raised on North Dakota, Ferguson Township.
I am just tell everybody I am underneath the practice operations area for Gorman Field. We're just out to get there again today working. But that aside, last meeting, the county commission approved the amendment to their UND Aerospace Foundation's special use plan, and that kind of triggered a issue with the FAA that they were planning to build an airport, as we discussed last time. The FAA did get back to me on this, and they have obtained that public document, which was the proposal that went to the county. And they made a determination at the field office and that the proposal that UND Aerospace Foundation is putting out at Gorman Field is an airport. Therefore, it falls underneath Section 157 of the Federal Aviation Regulations, which triggers a whole process by which the proposal would go forward with the FAA, and they would be the first stop, the airport's office, and the last stop. But they also have to go through a whole process. This is just the outline of the process with the FAA, with the airspace office. And it all kind of, I won't go into all the details, but what it'll get to is that they initiate a Form 7480-1 with the airport's office. That initiates the process. Then they will figure out a landing area plan, they call it, a LAP. And then they will go forward with all the various other offices within the FAA. The key one is the airspace office, which will determine whether or not they have an objection to the use of the airspace that Gorman Field is proposing. That's how it kind of works. So if the airspace is objected to, then what will happen is that they will they'll go back to the airport's office, which will contact Gorman Field. That's kind of the thing about it. You know, it's a pretty tight airspace, so they want to take a look at it. But before any construction should begin, that's the document, the determination document from the FAA airport's office that they will need in order to be able to construct an airport. It's all hinged on the idea of that it was an airport or it wasn't an airport. Right now, prior to this, it was an educational training area. That was the designation by the FAA. Now with putting runways in, it becomes an airport. That's just how the FAA's definitions work. That's what they determined. So they did send me some emails telling me they would be contacting the proponent, is what it's called. The proponent would be UND Aerospace Foundation. I did talk with Dean Kraus of UND Aerospace just to, go through this with him. And he's pretty much dependent on what Mr. Pino information he provided with him. So if there's any more information anybody wants on this, I can provide it for the convenience or not. So any questions? Yep.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. Any more questions then?
I just want to
Yep.
thank Mr. Leek for all the work that he's done, because this is a significant amount of information that you've gathered and spent time and hours doing. And I certainly understand that the concern is above your place of residence. But I'm glad that you continue to pursue to find out this information. And yes, it's important that the UND Aerospace Foundation get this information so that they can respond to the appropriate FAA offices and move forward. So thank
Yeah.
you very,
Yeah.
very much for your
Well,
time.
as I said last time I was here, I have a Bachelor of Science in Aviation, so at least I got to put it to work being a dirt farmer for all these years. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you so much. All right, so Grand Sky Construction Company. Hello.
Hi.
I think it's on. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Brad Gherkin. I'm with Grand Sky Development Company. We have submitted a 4-page summary of what we're asking for today, which is approval to use additional state funding for some additional utility work and for some additional apron pavement repair work. The total that we're requesting is $2.825 million. It is to be allocated to some existing contracts that are in place that have been publicly bid in the last 2 years. And so in this particular case, we're just asking to mod those contracts with this additional dollars. The additional dollars have been allocated through state funds. And until we get an approval between the county and the state for the funds approved for 2025 going forward, we won't spend any of those, obviously. So basically, I'm asking to spend money that the state's allocated to do additional works. Any questions?
Any questions?
Sure.
Here we go.
Sorry, I just want to ensure I'm understanding the situation. So it was bid for like a certain extension of the runway and now you're wanting to do a
So
greater
we
portion?
actually bid about $11 million of work. We had about $6 million to allocate in the previous cycle, funding cycle. So we only awarded 6 out of that total of $11 million of work that we needed to do. Waiting for additional funds. We got some additional funds this coming 2-year cycle. I'm allocating some of those funds towards doing additional or extensions of utilities and pavement. Does that
So
make
it's-
sense?
You bid out the full project.
Yes.
But now you're just asking for a second payment?
Yes,
essentially?
pretty much.
So the project itself hasn't changed?
No, it has not.
Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Same thing with the pavements job, the apron repair work. If you look at the very last page of the summary that I provided, that's kind of an ongoing challenge because that pavement is 60 years old out there. So we do repair works continuously. That's the last. So all those black dots are areas that we need to repair on the pavement. And the money that we are allocating this year is only going to take care of a portion of that. So does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
sure. Any
You
other
have something-
questions?
Something to say, Mark?
Just Bob, you want to make a motion to knock me out of this one?
Oh, sure.
Oh, second then.
Yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Okay.
Now I make a.
Now you can make a motion to approve his.
Mr. Bjorken's request for grass sky.
Second.
All right, we have a first and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously with Mr. Rusted recused.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, youth
Thank you.
assessment.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Good afternoon, Chair Hagan and members of the commission. I am here today for approval and signature on an all true professional services agreement. This was already included in my budget for this year and it is in my budget for next year. So basically, having a doctor available for our nurse to contact will very much limit how many transports we have to do to the hospital with juveniles. Instead, we
Approval.
can-
Is it just one doctor or is it?
it is one doctor
just
that is
one.
overseeing it, yes.
Second.
All right, first and a second. Is there any other discussion?
So the medical staff at the jail now, we take care of most of the issues. You had to transport extra before because you were off by yourself, right? So,
Well, so certain things like STD testing, things that the nurse can't perform, we do have to transport juveniles to be tested for things like that, but she can actually have the doctor perform that or refer to the doctor, so it'll reduce the transports.
okay. And then I know with the jail, I think a lot of them are on Medicaid and whatnot. Are you similar to doing what they're doing then as far as how payment works and everything?
If they have Medicaid, that would cover it, yes. If they have insurance under their parents, that would cover it, but if they
Okay.
don't have either, then the county ends up eating that bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Right, motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion, please say
Madam
aye.
Chair,
What did you do?
could perhaps the motion be amended to allow either Ms. Robbins' signature or the chair's signature on the
Is it-
contract?
Would you like to
I'll amend it to do exactly what Haley just said.
Thank you.
Second, whatever Haley said.
Fantastic. All those in favor of what Haley said, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
So I'm good to sign it then?
I
Yeah.
believe so.
Okay.
You or I, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right. Dawn, I think you're up next. It's your first meeting?
We're going chicken for supper tonight, Bob.
Oh. Hey, Megan?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Dawn Mant. I'm the Executive Director of the Red River Regional Council, working with community and economic development in the 4 counties that we call Region 4, Grand Forks, Nelson, Pembina, and Walsh. I want to thank Commissioner Hagan for her service currently representing you on our Board of Directors, and for Cynthia Peach for formerly representing you. Several years ago, back in the 21-22 timeframe, I established what I called the North Dakota Rural Housing Task Force. I said, despite all of this demand, we have zero construction going on in our rural communities. And so we convened 3 state agencies and a couple of nonprofit housing developers. So we've all been at this a while. We're pretty smart people. Maybe we can address the problem. So we did come up with several recommendations that would make housing finance available to rural communities, and shifted some state policy in the following legislative session. At the end of that year, I had the great pleasure of hiring Lisa Rotvold to lead our Red River Community Housing Development Organization. And so Lisa is here with me today, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we've been doing since 22 to really be the instigator of nonprofit housing development in the region. So just to kick us off, I would like to share some of the things that are the driving factors behind the need that we're seeing. And the need is everywhere. I would say our #1 barrier to economic growth, and honestly, our biggest threat to continued economic prosperity in Region 4, is housing and the availability of housing. So at the top of the first page, I just want to briefly highlight a few of the things that are going on in what we're going to call the state of Region 4. During COVID, we received supplemental funds from the feds, from the Economic Development Administration. We were able to hire 2 additional staff. And with that, we did 130 one-on-one business retention and expansion interviews with our business sector. We interviewed every single manufacturing company in the rural areas. There's over 25 of them, employing 1,200 people in Walsh and Pembina County alone. Those interviews that spanned both primary sector as well as the retail establishment and healthcare facilities revealed that we forecasted the need for 1,500 new employees in just our small towns in Region 4. Since that time, we've also had this exponential growth in H-2A visa workers in the farm community. We represent 21% of the state's total of H-2A visa workers, with over nearly 1,000 H-2A visa workers today in Region 4. In addition, rural healthcare and education also have a high level of immigrant and visa employees that are frankly becoming dependent on foreign labor. We have a regional focus both within Grand Forks and the other communities and the counties on high school and collegiate workforce development. We have record enrollment at UND this year in the incoming on-campus freshman class. We have strong job growth forecasts with Grand Sky defense-related missions and within our primary sector community. Wages are up. This is one of the great impacts of COVID, I believe. Wages are up 27% in our region since 2019, but still remain below the North Dakota average. And this is our bright, shiny spot, being a small town advocate. We have 18 of our 41 rural communities grew the last decade, which shifts about a 70-year-old trend of decline.
And so we're pretty excited about that. And what we really wanted to do is understand the barriers to rural housing development and identify the true needs looking forward based on the demands that we were identifying. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Lisa to talk about our rural housing study.
Good afternoon. Want to start off with some highlights from the housing study that was completed in August of last year. We used a really community engagement focused strategy to do the study. The reason we wanted to do it was because some of the studies, the traditional housing studies, are sort of backward looking. They're taking past trends of depopulation and they're projecting need based on that. And we really wanted to capture all the opportunity that we're hearing from all over the region. And so we used a very public input focused methodology. We had a 10-person steering committee representing all 4 counties. We had 12 one-on-one stakeholder interviews from around the region, 14 different steering committees. Some were community focused, some were topic focused. And then we brought folks together at 3 different build sessions where we presented some of the preliminary findings and kind of worked in small groups on various challenges and brainstorming, and it was really productive. And then we also did a survey, which was an online survey, and had over 500 responses from that, and a fairly decent representation of all 4 counties. Highlights, the survey told us, and it's going to build on what Dawn's already said, 77% of employers that responded to the survey said that a lack of suitable housing was impacting their business. And so we take that pretty seriously. We also found that of the general responses, almost 50% of people knew somebody who would like to move into the region, but wasn't able to because of a lack of suitable housing. So people want to come here. We got to make room for them. And 43% of the survey respondents indicated they would sell their house if there were suitable housing in their community. And we're kind of proving that one out with our Spark Build activity, which I'll talk about in a minute. In the end, the study identified a need for 4,800 additional housing units in the region, not including the city of Fargo or Grand Forks. Not them. Not including the city of Grand Forks, between now and 2030. So that's pretty significant. The number for Grand Forks County was 2,414 additional housing units by 2030. And that is 483 additional homes per year. I can tell you that over the past 20 years, the average building permits issued in Grand Forks County is 24. So it's a lot. There's a gap. So we call that opportunity. Some of the top needs identified, primarily through the survey, entry-level homes, home ownership opportunities. That was a top priority of employers. Low interest loans for single family rehab was another high priority for homeowners. Market rate rental housing and affordable rental housing, both. Certainly there is a need for the whole spectrum. We just need housing. So in the end, our consultants recommended 5 strategies to start to address some of the needs, and they are listed at the bottom of the front page, and they are also on the back page with a little more detail. So on page 2, there are lots of challenges to getting housing built anywhere in an urban place and in a rural place. Land availability, development costs, financing availability, market conditions, and also buyer expectations. How can we increase affordability? We can take a look at smaller lot sizes because infrastructure is quite expensive. We can take a look at big enough houses, I'm calling them. Maybe a little smaller footprint, maybe a few less square footage, and make it more economical that way. On a multifamily project, we can help them reduce debt. And we do that by reducing operating costs. We can also build in fewer amenities. That will help bring down development costs, both on single family and multifamily. And then also on the multifamily side, tying in rental assistance so that, they're bringing in the revenue that they need to cover their operating expenses. So those are just some thoughts on increasing affordability. So we got this study and we've gone to work. And so things that we've been doing, and I'm going to list them under the categories of the strategies. So the first one is our Spark Building Initiative, which falls under the category of enabling new construction. We launched this initiative in 2024 using housing incentive funds from the North Dakota Housing Finance Agency. It's state-funded program. And we actually did have to have the law changed in order to allow that use because it was specifically for multifamily housing originally. So that was a great accomplishment and opened the door to this opportunity. So in 2024, we built 4 houses. We sold all 4 houses. We currently have 2 under construction. We have funding for another 2. We'll break ground probably this fall. And then we're working on applications with 3 other communities, which we hope to have the funding lined up for this fall and hopefully get all the concrete work done this fall so that they can build as they're able throughout the winter. And we'll have, probably around 8 houses available for sale sometime next year. So that is Spark Build. We're just going to continue to pursue that as long as we're able. The communities that we have built and sold in has turned out to be kind of move over housing. So all of our buyers have been existing community residents who just wanted to get out of their house with stairs. They wanted to have a main floor laundry room. They didn't want to deal with a basement. And they all have sold their homes to, in large part, other local people, young people, at prices that are a little bit more affordable than the new construction. So we feel really good about that movement in the market and creating some of that. I was talking to the auditor of Lakota today, and she said there are 2 more houses now under construction. And she said, Lakota hasn't seen this much new construction in 20 years, 30 years. And so, not that we're taking credit for all that, but, it's supposed to spark, Yes.
Lisa, I do have a question. Could you share where those 8 houses are?
Yeah, so 2 are under construction right now in Park River. We're working on Grafton, working with the city of Grafton on 4. We're working with Minto on 2 houses. And then Michigan and Hoople. Yep. And we're looking for more because I want to start lining up 2026 construction. So, we'll be reaching out to all the counties and looking for additional locations. The 2 counties that we've built and sold in have already asked us to come and do more. And Park River's not done yet. And they've asked us if we can do more. So I think people are excited about, something new getting built and investing in their communities. And I think it's a really positive sign. The next one is attainable rental housing. And that also falls under enabling new construction. What we are working on in that regard is partnering with Grand Forks Homes and the Grand Forks Housing Authority, as well as a private developer, to apply for low-income housing tax credits for affordable rental apartments in Grand Forks. And so with the tax credits, we can sell those, we can reduce the amount of debt needed, and by doing so, we're able to charge lower rents. We will not be part of the ownership or operation of any of those projects, but I have experience with that funding source, and so I'm just helping them get through that process. The next one is modular and manufactured housing. This is under the recommendation of encouraging housing innovation. I applied for an operating grant from the Enterprise Community Partnership to explore manufactured and modular housing put on permanent foundations as a more affordable option for home ownership. And we can talk more about why that's important in a minute. So that's going to be something we're ramping up activity on, and hopefully we'll be able to run a pilot with that next summer. Single family rehab, we were able to secure just over $1 million to do single family rehab throughout the 4 counties. We have made a priority for veteran households and senior households, but others are, can still apply. But it's targeted primarily to people who earn 60% of area median income or less. Some can go up to 80. There's just certain targets you have to meet when you're applying for dollars. So that's really exciting. And if that goes well, I think there are at least 36 applications that have been received so far. And so just getting through the process of reviewing those, and they'll bring together a selection committee here this fall and get going on that. If that's successful, I do think there's an opportunity to bring additional dollars into the region to continue that kind of work. And that all comes from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines. And then entry-level home ownership falls under the category of invest in expansion of housing resources. This is an exciting one because it's not something that's ever been done in North Dakota. But there are several census tracts in our region that are in opportunity zones and are eligible for new market tax credits. And we've recently learned of a process to use new market tax credit equity to build for sale housing. And so we are working on getting in the pipeline for a national nonprofit organization called the Housing Assistance Council to try and be, they're applying for the credits, they'll syndicate them, and then they would make us a loan, which would end up being forgiven after 7 years. So it's not been done, but we want to try it. And it really, I think, is going to be an opportunity for us to dig a little deeper and reach households that have lower incomes, really the workforce, and buy down the cost of building new homes throughout the region. And in that, we're primarily looking at Walsh County. There are a couple spots in Grand Forks that would also qualify. I am going to hand it over to Dawn, and she's going to walk us through some math, because we got to always lead with the math, right?
I love that quote Lisa brings to us. Let's lead with the math. And so we wanted to share a few examples about why is this a conundrum in today's environment. So the math. According to the National Home Builders Association, the average price of a new home today is $459,000. 75% of Americans cannot afford that home. This one is interesting because I am the mother of 3 young adults. So 40% of Grand Forks County's residents are under the age of 25. And so when we think about entry-level home ownership opportunities, in fact, I have a 26-year-old son going through this right now, looking through the market in Grand Forks. And so how do we keep as many of these young adults in our market as we can, because we desperately depend on them for our workforce needs? Then I'll move over to the green box. 50% of American households, and which is completely drives with North Dakota statistics, cannot afford a $250,000 house. In Grand Forks County, we ran an example just based on our own numbers to make this a very real example for you to consider. The median household income in Grand Forks County, I believe this was the end of 23, $68,450. Based on the national standard of affordability, 28% of their income can go towards a housing payment. That equates to a $1,500 monthly payment. So what does that buy? Based on a 6.5% mortgage interest and a 30-year fixed rate, their mortgage would buy a $237,000 home. And so given all these dynamics, that's what makes this a really complex issue to try to resolve. And before I go on to what are the roles the county could play in this big picture about housing, I want to touch on the typical single-family housing development costs. So in the circle, I do have an error, so I'd love for you to take your pens out, but 64% of the cost is the construction cost. The lot cost is about 14%. The soft cost is 8.7%. The sales commission is 2.3%. And on average, it's 11% profit. And so when we were making some final edits, we deleted that. So I wanted to make sure that's corrected. But just, how can we build houses that people can afford? I understand there's not been also a multifamily housing permit in Grand Forks last year or this year yet to date. So we are falling behind every time we let another year or construction season fly by in North Dakota. So the roles that the county can play, and much of this is outlined in more detail in our study, but establish the parameters or policy for the types of housing the county would be willing to help financially, and defining what those options are so that developers can rely upon what the county might consider. Help remove dilapidated properties to create infill opportunities when we have existing infrastructure. It goes a long ways towards the affordability of that lot. Something we found throughout the rural counties, and I imagine the same is true right here in Grand Forks County, but creating an inventory of residential lots and vacant farmsteads that might be targets for either redevelopment or selling. We find that people have a sentimental hanging on to farmsteads, and that's hard to let go, but those are opportunities that have existing infrastructure and are highly desirable locations for many people. This was an innovative idea that I thought was worth considering, was tax the unoccupied properties at a higher rate. So encouraging occupancy and the use of those properties. So thinking about the potentially unoccupied spaces and making it maybe a bit more unaffordable to keep it idle. And so flex pace, we use flex pace in many ways. In a lot of our rural communities, we use it to spark and support retail or other sorts of development that is not primary sector. It can also be used to support multifamily housing development. So you may be familiar with the PACE program, where we can partner with the Bank of North Dakota and buy down the interest rate up to 5 points. So in today's interest rate environment of 6 or 7%, you can buy it down to 1 or 2%, which makes, again, a big difference in the affordability. Support the creation of a regional housing fund. This is something we're actively working on right now, trying to figure out how can we create our own funding source to enable us to just keep moving and building. And then lastly, this was a bill that extended into the wee hours, the final night of the legislative session, but Senate Bill 2225 was a state grant program to provide matching grants for housing infrastructure. And there are many communities in our region that need this. So we were still making calls after midnight, the last night of the session, trying to rally this bill that ultimately failed. And then I wanted to provide just a couple of other comments. These issues are national issues. They're not just yours. Everybody's dealing with the same thing. And I like to believe that those who can figure it out will be the big winners because we have these conundrums shared. And so when we address housing affordability, we become kind of a spotlight and a definite draw for our young people. And then lastly, I wanted to share the North Dakota Housing Incentive Fund is a massive tool that's been used across the state. It was formed in, I believe, 2010 or 2011, really in response to rapid growth issues in the oil patch and how do we keep affordability in a rapid growth environment. Up until, I believe, 21, our analysis showed that only 3% of over $100 million went into small towns. And only 6% of the total units developed with that money were in small towns. So these are the kind of stats we like to use to shift policy. And so any help that you folks can give us when we're working on policy issues also and rallying sort of the interest and the need for these things would be greatly appreciated. The North Dakota HIF program was increased to 25 million this session. So we about doubled what it had last biennium. But we really were wanting to see more like 100 million. And so how do we keep building and building and building? Because the need is so desperately strong. And so with that, I'll just entertain any questions and your conversation.
That's more of a comment. I appreciate the very detailed presentation, and you put together quite the nice little sheet.
Oh,
for
we're
us.
getting good at these ones.
Yeah.
We're getting good at that.
Easy on the eye and very easy to
Right.
read. So I appreciate that. In my opinion, and I'm just, of course, one of five, but a non-starter, in my opinion, is taxing somebody at a higher rate to try to encourage them to rent out their property. I don't even know that would be legal, but
We did find an example, I think, that was cited. So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, I missed that obviously, but I would not be in favor of supporting something like that. It's their property. I don't know that we can try to force them to do with it what we want them to do. I guess that's out of the entire presentation. That was the one thing that like stuck out to me that I wanted to point out, and I felt like I'd be remiss if I didn't say something.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner.
I just have a couple comments to make. I recently spoke with an individual that lives in poverty in the Larimore area. And she was all excited because somebody had told her that the city of Larimore was building low-income housing. And so she approached the city to ask them about the homes that they were being built. And she was told that those homes would cost $350,000. And she was like, where does that come into low income? I can't afford that. I live on a farm. My house is falling apart. I don't have the money to pay for that. So it's a little unfortunate that some of our communities are calling that low income housing. Amaretto certainly has a housing shortage. There's a lot of poverty going in there. Living there. I totally agree with the multifamily housing. I know that Tri-Valley Opportunity Council in Crookston built about 20 townhomes, and they worked with a multitude of funders, both federal, state, local, so they could get tax incentives for it to be built. And they're always full with a waiting list. So that's just, if you need more information on that, ask me, because I work there. Also, it's interesting, just a thought. I know that the homes that you're building, are they local contractors, or so somebody comes forward and says, I have time, I'll build these houses?
Yes, just to address the first point, they are not low-income housing. There's no income limit. I hope that we can get to a point where we can do that. But our first, we just need to get something done. We're just building housing. And we're trying to create churn. We're trying to, increase the housing stock and make room, which has created some secondary sales that are more affordable. But to be clear, that is not the goal. So on the second question, remind me what the second question was. Yes, yeah, the builder that we've been using primarily is out of Fordville.
Okay.
And so he's been doing a really good job, and we've been visiting with some other local builders about, what they might be able to do for us. They plan their work like a year, 2 years in advance. And so, we gotta, we gotta get with them now to try and pin them down next summer, the summer after that. So we're continuing to try and have some of those conversations, but it's been going really well with the one builder that we have partnered with.
What are the costs of the houses that you've built?
The costs have been around $350. And so we're pretty much selling at cost. Our builder has his profit built into that. But yeah, that's pretty much we're building at cost.
Have you ever, I know that the educational center just opened here in town. And I remember years back, Red River used to have a construction course and they'd build houses and sell them. Actually, I knew a person that bought them and I think they still live in it. But has that ever been a consideration? I think that probably 1/3 of building is the materials and about 2/3 of the labor cost. And so, obviously they're looking at construction, they're looking at plumbing, electrician, has there ever been a thought about doing some of those homes that would be movable on site once they were built, say at an educational center?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Good.
We continue to have those conversations and we continue to seek sources of funding. One of the challenges for the schools when they do it is they have to, they basically fund all the materials out of their budget, and that's a real stretch. And so we are looking for ways that we can help bring the money up front. So maybe we're paying materials and they're providing the education and the construction labor. It also ties in with strategy number 3 in our recommendations, which is develop workforce and human capital. So that's another really important piece that we're trying to, be a part of addressing that. It's, we can't solve that, but we're trying to be a part of it and support that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I believe when Red River started that project, they probably had to get some seed money at the beginning. But what they did is as they sold the 1 or 2 houses they built, they took that money and turned it into the supply budget for the next houses they're going to build. So
Yeah.
obviously we need multifamily housing in Grand Forks. We need lower income housing and apartments that are affordable, not the $1,200 to $1,500 a month apartments that are too expensive, but the apartments that are fair market rent so people can afford to pay for them.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your information.
Anybody else have questions for Sarah?
Well, I'll also make 2 comments. Number 1, maybe we should be spending more time in our schools teaching people how to budget. And number 2, raising taxes does nothing to help affordability of houses. Thank you.
Thank you.
I took that class. Pat Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Just 2 quick agenda items for the board's consideration and decision. First is I'm asking for an amendment to the county's travel reimbursement policy. Currently, it only allows for 1 travel voucher reimbursement request per month. I'm requesting the board approve changing that to per travel occurrence. I chatted with Ms. Morstead, Ms. Thiel, Mr. Fisher, Ms. Wamstead. There was no legal reason why it was once a month. It was just the payroll officer at the time's preference. So asking the commission to approve an update to the travel reimbursement policy from 1 a month to per occurrence.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, the next one is the hiring freeze. Commissioner Bierke actually inquired about this during one of the budget meetings. I've been discussing this with Ms. Morstead and Ms. Thiel. Right now, if a position comes open, the department head comes to the commission and asks to have permission to have that filled. I'm asking that the commission amend the hiring freeze policy. It would still apply to additional headcount. That still needs to be brought to the board. We're in agreement there. But if a position becomes vacant and department head wants to fill that vacancy, instead of coming to the board for permission, the department head, myself, Ms. Thiel, will review that and make the determination from there. So asking that the hiring freeze apply to additional headcount only, and that the county administrator will work with human resources and the requesting department head to fill the vacant position.
Mr. Ford, so in the event of, whether it be a retirement, termination, whatever, are you going to be filtering these for the potential of some savings through attrition?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Rusted, I think that would be responsible. I think with this budget that was approved, and then the next budget and the commission's communication to department heads and partners, that we can expect more rounds of reductions. I think that as existing positions come open, it would be due diligence on myself and department heads and human resources to analyze those things. Yes, sir.
Well, with that being said, I'm in favor, so I'll move approval.
Second.
I just have one question. Are they gonna be in the consent agenda still, though?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Committee reports. Mr. Bierke.
Another 3-hour delicious fair board meeting. So we continue on on our goal to turn that puppy around. So working on that.
I just was at the Human Service Zone Advisory Board meeting. Some hiring that has to be done, a little bit of turnaround taking place. Somebody was identified for the Dandelion Award, which is a state award from the state of North Dakota. So that's a good thing. There was also discussion on data and stats. The state of North Dakota is working on trying to get their accuracy count up. And so they're working on that and being very diligent about that. Right now, there are about 114 kids that are in foster care, and there are 110 to 120 Child Protective Service cases open at this time. So that was the information that was shared at the Human Service Board. Library Board is on Wednesday, tomorrow, and I think that's all. There is a person that left at NDSU Extension, and they will not be rehiring that position because that was some federal funding that has been cut with nutrition.
Go ahead, Mr. Ross.
Okay, I attended the ribbon cutting at CDC out at the Grand Forks Air Force Base. And I attended the Tech Center ribbon cutting with Mr. Ford and Gracie just last week, I believe. And that's all I've got.
All right. Yeah.
At an EDC board meeting, they're kind of reconnoitering, so to speak, their budget, trying to work on membership and more private things as far as funding sources coming in, because they took a fairly robust haircut from the city from a budget standpoint. Then I think that's it for this last. So yeah, it's on to you.
Quick. Yeah, I don't have anything additional to add, but I think Monday, the 25th, that's next week, the Taste of Belgium in Town Square from 4 to 8. welcoming Agristo. So if anybody is available to go check that out. So other than that, anything else? And I think we just have the Grand Sky invoice to approve.
Motion to recuse,
Thank you.
Second.
And all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passed unanimously. Can I get a motion for,
So move.
all right.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed unanimously with Mr. Rusted recused. Great.
Even though I accidentally said I ought to have
You
it.
did, but it's okay. We won't count it. It's only 4. Do we have any correspondence? I don't think we do. So we are ready.
Jaren.
Adjourn. A second?